Welcome back to another Terranscapes video. Just before we dive into, I'm pointing at the computer because that's where we're going to be going. Before we dive into the work that's been done on the project, I just wanted to put a little heads up out there that I'm going to be scaling back on the number of videos that I release each month, maybe quite a bit, at least for the upcoming couple months, to make sure that I'm spending more time on the projects than I already am. And that doesn't make me happy. I love shooting videos, but I've set some goals and I've set some numbers, and I need to hit those. And that means that shooting product reviews is on the list of postponement. So hopefully you'll understand. And of course, there will be all the project updates. That's going to continue. So there's definitely going to be content on the channel, but I just wanted to give you that notice. I have a feeling that a few people might say, what happened? Why aren't you? When will you? And I just wanted to say that's why. So let's go over. I'm going to show you some designs, some work that I've made, and some thoughts on it. So since my last update, I have gone through and picked out a bunch of the doors and some windows. I don't know if I showed all of these designs before. Some of these, I'm not going to say which ones, I'm not too fond of. Some I've grown to like. So don't think of this as what the final versions will be. But I basically decided to make a template, and then I can insert as one of the layers variants. So that way I could have, a same window design, but have, 4 different windows in essence with, different icons or script or whatever it is that's on here. Same for the doors. So here's the completed door, and then here are all the layers that make up the door. And then as a variant, this one would have, I think this one I left closed so that the window would look closed, and this one the window would be open. And like maybe there's a little shutter behind here. Anyway, and then I could have these doors fit into this framework. So that's what you see here. So I did all of that, put that all together, and then I made a sheet of all of these doors, like all these couple variants, as well as a few of the other doors that I've made that I haven't actually finished through all of this stage, and the windows that I had done. And I printed them out, and I decided I'd go to paper to draft the buildings. So here you see, I went to paper for my quick drafting, partly because I wanted to have, the windows that I had designed, but wanted the flexibility of just being able to throw down some rough sketches, just use the graph paper as a guide for dimensions, and just throw down some ideas, be able to get out an eraser, and not get locked down into some of the fiddly bits of Inkscape, because I'll end up spending like 10 minutes trying to make sure that all these windows aren't exactly on the same line, and I don't need to do that at this stage. So it was kind of refreshing to go to paper. And you may be wondering what am I doing with these windows? I ended up using Hobby Tack. Wait a minute. I ended up using Hobby Tack as an adhesive for them. Since it stays tacky, this is made by Woodland Scenics. I don't know if people are familiar with this. It's not great for terrain, but it works pretty well for making something that's sort of like color forms. I don't know if you remember those from when you were a kid. So this way I could put this window in here. I didn't like it. Peel it off, put in another one, and I have to worry about trying to draw out all of these little shapes and whatnot. And then I could just throw them down and get, the ability to see how they work, but still have the flexibility of doing some quick sketches. I'll talk more about that in a second. But one of the things I also did is I also found an image of a Lord of the Rings elf archer, and I shrunk him down to scale so that then I can place him in and around the different doors and windows and be able to see how that looks. Does it look right? Are things at the right height? Like this is supposed to be steps leading up to this landing, so obviously it doesn't match here. But anyway, it works well. You'll see him. You'll see this guy in a few more of these drafts and on the computer. So I put this together. This was sort of my side one. Then I wanted to do the building in all 4 directions, actually, so that I could get a real sense of the the diversity that I have, proportions, how does all the sides fit together, the different kinds of elements that might appear. And when I was going through them, so this is the other short end of the building, right? And I want to put in like a balcony, and here's a porch sort of railings, and maybe have an inset for this window, right? So I'm just throwing all of these different ideas down. But the tower became its own thing I was having a struggle with. I really wanted to come up with something different. And one of the things I decided to do, we're going to come back to all of those. I'm not going to cut them out. Is I decided to make little tiny paper mock-ups. Because originally I thought, well, if I make it square, this one's laying down square, how would the dormers look? These are very makeshift dormers. How would that look? I didn't like it square. So then I made a hexagon, and I thought that would be cool. And then I could have 3 dormers on it, 3 windows. And I was like, how's that top going to work then? And I came up with a couple different tops. And I plopped them on there, and I went through some really ridiculously unneeded way of assembling the sides here, but don't ask me about that. And then I thought, what if I had a little window, in this level? And I put this all together, and I didn't like any of it, not at all. Then I had an accident, and my books from my reference library got disheveled. I won't explain why. And when I was going through them, I realized that first, I should be looking at my reference materials more frequently. And second, this postcard popped out, and Tanya, I think, had given me this postcard a ways back. This is Ludwig II's castle, a bit of an eccentric who wanted to create this beautiful castle with his family's money. Not important, but it made me realize that the sort of tried and true form, it works just fine, and that has a very nice fantasy feel. So I ended up abandoning my sort of radical tower design and went back to the standard sort of tower shape. And then I wanted a smaller mini tower coming out of the building to give it a little bit of a height variation, right? Break it up, make it look a little more visually interesting. So I did some more design work, right? So I created this side. I was like, okay, I've got them all. Maybe I need to shorten some things. This is getting pretty tall. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I was like, okay, let's just throw in a little, embellishment on the walls. How's that going to break up things? And I felt, okay, good. I've got the layout pretty solid. And I thought, I'm going to do top-down drawings so that I can see how each of those layers look and how they stack. So I started to do this. This would be the first floor. Obviously, I'm not doing any interiors, but I wanted to mark doors and windows and also those columns and where they're sitting and how much of an overhang this is, right? So I started putting this together, and something happened. I have some kind of measurement issue between all the drawings because I couldn't get all of this to line up with the 4 sides. And I spent too much time futzing with this. I mean, not a gargantuan amount, but too much. And I was like, this is where I should have moved to Inkscape. So that was a little bit of a lost time using paper and pencil. But I did find this process helpful, and I think it was a nice complement to the Inkscape work.